Hey everyone, in today's video we're going to be talking about chronic illness and how to deal with it in the workplace. So Kaylee, what was your experience with dealing with chronic illness while working 10 different jobs in different fields, and how did you get through that and navigate?
Well, fortunately at that time when I was doing all those random jobs, that was recently after I got better. So it's kind of a weird story, but that was like I nearly passed away, and then they had to put me on meds, and there's just, it's a lot of stuff, no need to go into it, but I was actually in really good health at that time for a very short period. When I did start having some other issues again, because it is chronic health issues, it goes in and out of remission and flares, and when I did have problems doing like short-term jobs, if I started getting sick again, I would just stop working and I would rest for however long I needed and try and get better. At that time I just didn't have a whole lot flare up. I just felt lucky, and I was starting to think, hey, maybe I'm not chronically ill, maybe I'm cured.
Yeah, exactly.
Yes. But to move forward, I did notice that I had to accept I do have chronic health issues when I started working my job currently, as a full stack engineer and being employed by someone.
Yeah, no, I've definitely had that issue as well. I mean, I haven't talked about it, only, my partner and closest friends know that I do get extremely sick, especially, it's usually 1 month out of the year where, all day, too much information, but all day I'm, either just very nauseous, throwing up, and, after that it disappears and I'm great. So it's extremely difficult, and I think, it's important for people to know that even if we're having good days, the next day might be an extreme challenge for us, and just understanding that this is our lives. Like, we don't choose to be sick, and just getting through it and persevering. And there's probably a ton of people, especially online and during COVID, that do get sick often and do have chronic illnesses that don't speak about it because it looks bad for employers and you're scared about your job. I know, I would definitely be nervous to tell my employer. So what recommendations do you have about talking about chronic illness, because it's something we both struggle with?
I would like to say that chronic illness is actually very common, and most of it is hidden illnesses. It's not something you can look at somebody and know they have. So like you're saying, it's hard because one day you're good and the next day you're having issues. So for me, handling it, it's hard because my personality and my values don't match up with my body. We don't always agree.
Exactly.
I'm very driven. I'm very give my work 110%. I don't like calling in sick. I don't like saying, oh, I'm sorry, I can't do that. So I've learned that I have to swallow my pride, and whether I like it or not, I have to put my health first. And that has to come first before anything else. And I've learned that if I don't, I'm gonna make myself so sick, I'm gonna lose my job and lose everything anyway. I know what it was like to be 5 years, bedridden. So I don't wanna go back there.
Exactly.
So what I had to do is, when I took the position, I talked to my lead, the manager above him in my position, and the HR, and I just sent them an email because I was already starting to feel sick at that point, and I let them know that, hey, I do have these illnesses. And I let them know exactly my feelings, so they knew that I do care about my job, that I'm not, and I just want them to know exactly where I was coming from. I was very honest and blunt about it. They kind of came back with a very polite, TMI, it's okay. All good employers will say, you don't have to tell us, and they should say that. But in my opinion, I feel better letting them know that that's why I'm calling out. I just need you to know that, and that I do care. So I feel like, in my opinion, that's the best way, because then when I do have to call in, I'm more likely to say earlier than waiting until I'm getting too sick and say, I should call in today, because if I do, I'm more likely to come out of this flare, and if I don't, I may end up in the hospital again. So
exactly. That's something I've definitely faced, especially at my previous employer, learning that I have to create boundaries, because I definitely remember one specific day where I was feeling so sick, but I didn't want to let anyone down. And I definitely feel like you could relate with me on that, so I just kept working and working. So I think creating those boundaries and knowing that with the right employer, you're not letting them down, you're just being transparent, and maybe you only need to take off the rest of the day and you'll be fine. So I think it's really important to know that chronic illness does happen and you're not letting people down, and with the right employer they're gonna understand. And this is another topic I wanted to talk about. During COVID, and like being able to work from home has been so much easier, especially, you know, with chronic illness, and I just wanted to know, have you expand on that?
Yeah, I was lucky in the fact that my employer, with my health issues, they allowed me to work fully remote before COVID hit. I was very lucky there. So I didn't, as far as my work situation, it didn't change a lot. But I do think it's a blessing in disguise for all, I don't want to piss off everybody, but for people who have chronic illnesses that are needing that remote position, that have been pushing for it, and it's just not happening. Like, some people do need this, and there's the benefit of that. So at least going forward, once things finally hopefully get back to normal, more employers will see that working remote is doable and it's okay.
Exactly. I almost feel more effective, especially when I'm not feeling great. I'm then able to take a 5-minute break and get water or like sit on my couch and feel better a lot quicker, because I know if I was in the office I definitely would just keep pushing, and I wouldn't maybe, you know, take that extra minute to sit down. But since I am in my home and I feel comfortable, it's definitely useful. So I love what you said about how working from home is kind of a blessing in disguise. And I also think for companies it makes more sense if you have the right people on your team and you did a thorough job interviewing them, there should be no problem with working at home. I think where problems come in is where you're not interviewing properly, and the person from the get-go maybe wasn't that hard of a worker, or wasn't you know, the right fit for this specific company. So I loved what you said about working through your chronic illness and just being open with the employer.
Yeah, I think it's just really remembering that you and your health come first, and always put that first. Like the face mask on an airplane, put yours on first. And then you can worry about your job and other things. And I agree, when I work from home, if I was still working in the office, I would have had to call sick a lot more than I have been. But otherwise I have hardly called in, because there's been days, they don't know, but I'm laying in bed working because I can't sit up. Sometimes when I get really bad, I lose feeling in my legs. Or I also get sick a lot, so I can actually run to the bathroom and be sick. The bathroom's not far away, like it is at work. I get a lot of other issues as well, but it's something that I can manage at home.
It's much more manageable when you're home and you don't have that extra pressure on you. Well, thank you guys so much for tuning in today as we talk about how to deal with chronic illness in the workplace. Remember to put yourself first and take care of yourself, because if you take care of yourself, you're going to be able to produce the best quality of work for your employer. So, thank you.